100 years from now, you will be dust, so will I, and so will the very people who are making your life miserable today. 2,000 years ago, amidst the devastation of war and plague, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote these words in his private journal: "In a little wrath, all will be dust. Shortly, you will be nobody and nowhere, nor will anything which you now see exist. Every single tragedy you are carrying right now is nothing more than a tiny ripple in the vast ocean of time. You are suffering, you are exhausted, not because life is inherently cruel, but because you are trying to cast a heavy anchor, desperate to force the river of fate to stop flowing. You are trying to control what was never yours to hold." Stoicism does not believe in blind optimism, and this video will not give you shallow, positive advice. Instead, it offers you something far more practical: 6 brutal truths to help you stand unshakable, anchored by your own virtue and self-control, no matter what storms come your way. If you are ready to cut the rope of that illusion, leave a comment: "I am here." Take a deep breath, and let us begin. Truth 1. The dichotomy of control and the bottle upon the ocean. The bedrock of all Stoic philosophy begins with a single, unyielding boundary that Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to you: your opinion, your desire, your aversion, and how you choose to respond. Other things are not up to you: your body, your property, your reputation, and the actions of others. We suffer because we constantly mistake these two drawers. Imagine writing a letter with absolute sincerity, sealing it inside a glass bottle, and casting it into the ocean. Writing the letter beautifully, choosing a sturdy bottle that is your maximum effort. That is where your virtue resides. But once that bottle leaves your hand, it belongs to the sea. It might drift safely to the far shore, or it might be smashed to pieces against the jagged rocks. If you dive into the water, swimming after the bottle to protect it from the raging waves, you will drown. Stoics do not pray for calm seas. They train themselves to become resilient sailors. Pour your soul into the bottle, but let the ocean decide its fate. Truth 2. Suffering in imagination and Seneca's Exile. Once you clearly understand what truly belongs to you, a new enemy emerges right within your own territory. That enemy is your imagination. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." To truly understand this truth, look at Seneca's own life. He lived in an era where power could shift with a single nod from the emperor. Political purges, slander, and sentences of exile could strike anyone close to the center of power at any moment. And eventually, the very thing he feared came to pass. Emperor Claudius sentenced him to exile on the island of Corsica. But what actually happened? When Seneca finally set foot on that barren, rocky island, he realized an astonishing truth. The reality of exile was nowhere near as brutal as the nightmares his mind had painted back in Rome. The island had no grand estates, but it offered him the silence to write. He no longer held power, but he no longer had to bow before a tyrant. He realized he was still living well, still entirely free in his own mind. The fear that had haunted him for a decade in Rome turned out to be nothing but a ghost fabricated by his own brain. Your anxiety today operates in the exact same way. You receive a brief email from your boss, and you immediately lose a whole night of sleep. You lie in your warm, comfortable bed, imagining yourself getting fired, packing your things, and ending up unemployed. You experience the full weight of that pain and humiliation right there under your blankets. But the next morning, you find out your boss just wanted to ask about a minor statistic. You voluntarily walked into the torture chamber of your own mind and flipped the switch yourself. You suffered the blow before reality even had a chance to strike. The Stoics practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity, not to breed fear or anxiety, but to disarm fate of its greatest weapon, surprise. When you prepare for the worst, you look at it through the cold lens of reason, asking, if this happens, how will I act? You do not let your emotions run wild and paralyze you. Do not voluntarily suffer the punishment of fate before it even knocks on your door. Truth. 3. Amor Fati, cooperating with nature in the age of plague. But even if you master your imagination, external reality will still douse your life in ice-cold water. That is where Amor Fati begins. Modern audiences often misunderstand Amor Fati, the love of fate, as a form of resigned self-consolation, or worse, an affection for suffering. It is not. In Stoic philosophy, Amor Fati is about cooperating with nature. The universe operates under laws far grander than our tiny egos. Fighting against reality is as futile as a dog trying to run against the pull of a moving cart. It only causes the dog to be dragged along and bruised even more. In 166 AD, the Antonine Plague swept through the Roman Empire. Cities were littered with corpses. The military was decimated. The economy was shattered. This was no minor test. It was one of the greatest crises of Marcus Aurelius's era. What is worth remembering is not just that he sold the imperial treasures to fund the treasury, or that he continued to lead his army to protect the borders. What is far more profound is that he never viewed this adversity as a personal insult targeted at him. He did not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, he asked, "In these circumstances, what is the right thing for a human being to do?" That is the true essence of Amor Fati. Adversity does not block your path. It is the path. Truth 4. Guarding your attention by stripping away judgment. To cooperate with nature amidst the storm, you need a supreme defensive tool, the ability to guard your own attention. Every single day, your attention is constantly hijacked by external noise. Yet, Stoicism never blames the outside world. They understand a core truth. External things have no power to step in and disturb your mind. Only your own judgments about them can do that. Look at how you voluntarily surrender your attention to anxiety through a classic scenario. Your boss sends you a brief message, "Meet me tomorrow." Immediately, a war breaks out inside your head. The naked reality is simply, your boss wants to meet you tomorrow. That is all. But your judgment claims, the project is in trouble. I am about to get fired. I am a failure. My future is ruined. Your anxiety does not come from the message itself. It is born from the mountain of dramatic judgments you choose to weave around it. You have thrown open the gates of your mental fortress, handing over your precious attention and energy to a ghost that does not even exist. Marcus Aurelius made this incredibly clear. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it, and it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. When you strip away unnecessary judgments, the world outside suddenly falls into a profound silence. You keep your focus locked entirely on the actions and virtue right in front of you. Truth 5. The cosmic view and the transience of time. This mental discipline demands that we step back, widening our lens to view all things within the grand, sweeping flow of time. In his essay on the shortness of life, the philosopher Seneca pointed out that life is not short. Rather, we make it so by wasting too much of it on meaningless things. And one of the most wasteful habits of all is harboring anxieties that accumulate year after year. Apply the scale of cosmic time to your current worries. Ask yourself, will this still matter in 5 years? In 5 months? Most of what we deem monumental, a petty argument, a moment of public embarrassment, A temporary setback will eventually be ground into dust by the wheels of time. The Stoics practice the view from above, to see themselves as nothing more than a tiny grain of sand on a blue planet, suspended in an infinite universe. When you realize the sheer insignificance and transience of everything, a miraculous sense of liberation washes over you. Your pride evaporates, your fears dissolve. You are left with one single, sharp focus. How do I live the best possible life in this fleeting moment? This is not about escaping life. It is about seeing life in its true, objective proportion. Viewed from the cosmos, even your greatest tragedies are nothing but a blink of an eye. Truth 6. The Stoic summit tranquility is the byproduct of virtue. When everything is stripped away, what is the one thing left to keep you standing? It is the inner fortress of your virtue. Many people turn to Stoicism as a mere life hack to find quick peace of mind. They chase tranquility, ataraxia, but they refuse to cultivate virtue. Yet, for Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, tranquility was never a standalone, off-the-shelf option. It is the inevitable byproduct of living in accordance with nature and practicing virtue. To live in accordance with nature means fulfilling your duty as a human being, living rationally, acting morally, and contributing to the human community. When you act with absolute integrity, when you treat others with justice, and when you face adversity with courage, you leave no room for regret. And when there is no regret, peace of mind naturally emerges, like a cool shade sheltering your life. You cannot have peace if you are still deceiving others for personal gain or living in cowardice to escape responsibility. Tranquility is not a cold, emotionless state like a stone statue. It is the profound, unshakable confidence of someone who knows that even if the world collapses around them, their character and honor remain intact. Conclusion. Cut the anchor and begin to live. We have walked through the 6 truths of one of the most resilient philosophies in human history. Stoicism does not promise you an easy life. It does not guarantee that your bottle will reach the shore safely, or that you will never face plague, hardship, or betrayal. But it offers you a far greater power, the power to smile in the face of the storm, to cooperate with fate, and to guard your integrity until your very last breath. It is time to stop trying to chain the flowing water. It is time to cut the rope of that illusory anchor holding you hostage to anxieties that were never yours to control. If you are ready to sever that rope and walk forward with autonomy and virtue, leave a comment. I cut the anchor. Do not forget to subscribe to the Stoic Path so we can continue to walk together on this journey of building our inner fortress. Thank you for being here in this very moment.